Warning, this is a movie discussion as well as a review. There are lots and lots of spoilers. So, Alien Covenant. Man, you know what? Fuck this movie. Fuck this dumbass crew. And fuck Captain Dumbass himself. Because not one person made a respectable decision the entire movie. So, before I get started, I just want to say it's time for these writers to figure out how to put characters in certain situations without them being complete idiots who cause the situations. It's insulting. Anybody can write a story about people getting fucked up because they're stupid. Granted, previous alien films aren't exactly exempt from unnecessary alien prodding or overall poor decision making, not by any means. But it's getting old, and it really took away from the potential of this movie. So, Alien Covenant, just really quickly, is the sequel to Prometheus, which is the prequel to Alien. Well, they're both prequel to Alien. At the end of Prometheus, David and Elizabeth Shaw fly off in the alien spacecraft, and they're going to where the human-like aliens were from originally. So Covenant picks up on that home planet of those alien people. David showed up in their ship and he killed them all with their own weapons. So I really wanted to like this movie, but the crew was just so fucking stupid. I was just ready to walk out. So let me just quickly walk my way through what got me to that point. Number one, the first captain dies because apparently pod emergency releases aren't a thing, or they're not all that reliable. I don't know. And the next in command is a complete fucking idiot. Chris Oram is played by Billy Crudup, and this fool, he didn't want to let his crew mourn their lost captain, even though he was somebody's husband, because a break for a moment of silence could put them in danger. But an entire space detour to unknown land, that gets the thumbs up. He treated this mission like it was a trip to Wendy's and they drove by a Burger King. Like, oh, let's stop here instead. No, you fucking fool. Number two, just because a planet is habitable doesn't mean it's safe, Mr. Space Captain. The last movie I saw people fly through a hurricane into unknown territory, you know who was there? King Kong. Is that what y'all want? Number three, why were they taking 2,000 people to colonize a planet that nobody's ever been to in the first place? All the mapping and vetting in the world doesn't tell you if this planet is suited for that. Not with enough confidence to show up with 2,000 people out the gate. Number four, why didn't this planet show up in their previous scans? Daniels, played by Catherine Waterston, she's the new Ripley or whatever. She said they scanned the entire sector and she has no idea how they would have missed this planet. This is never explained, and it really doesn't make a lot of sense that they would have missed it. Number five, since when do you mosey on out to uncharted territory with no suit, no helmet, no protocol for any type of safety measures? They acted like they landed on Kentucky or some shit. Who the fuck trained these people? You don't. Number six, why would you land on some dirty ass water, then walk through the shit? I was just waiting for some type of sea hag, a sea alien or something to eat they dumbasses. Have you ever heard of waterborne or airborne pathogens? I mean, they had some type of little robot with them. What the fuck was that thing doing? And clearly it wasn't scouting the area. And why was she chilling back at the lander with the door wide open? There's no airlock or anything. She's just out in the water playing around with no sense of her surroundings whatsoever. So number seven, you don't send like 90% of your crew to unknown land, no matter how safe you think it is, let alone the first and next person in command. So it's habitable. That just means oxygen-breathing monsters could live there. You send a survey team or something, a robot, an unarmed space vehicle. Like I said, habitable doesn't mean safe. Number eight, you don't throw cigarette butts. Are you littering? That's your first order of business to start a forest fire, idiot. Number nine, so first of all, the one lady, Ferris, she's back at the lander ship, doors wide open, and here comes the infected guy. His name is Ledward. And Corinne's the one who called ahead to get the med bay or whatever ready. He had thrown up blood on her. This transformation he was going through was happening fast. Why the fuck would you let him on the ship? I know this wasn't the main ship, but that doesn't change anything because if you contaminate it or let an alien get on it at all or blow it up shooting at an alien, you're screwed. You risk the lives of those on the ground, and if you even make it back up to Covenant, you've brought the risk to them. Even in Prometheus, and I know it was the main ship, but Charlize Theron's character, she opened the door with a flamethrower, like, oh, this bastard's not getting on my motherfucking ship. And somebody was like, he's sick. I know, that's why his ass ain't getting on my ship. So, what were these people thinking? Number 10, so Ferris again. You get the guy in the infirmary, and and his back shoots out some spikes. So after his back shoots out spikes and blood in your face and mouth, now you decide he should be quarantined. He had no business in there in the first damn place, and you had no business in there with him. But you lock another crew member in there with him. Ain't that a bit? Oh, now you got some safety measures, even though you're the one with his blood in your mouth. Needless to say, this woman is totally useless. From that, I mean, totally useless from that point on. Number 11. Then this is it. This is the moment I almost walked out. Corinne, they already aren't following any type of safety protocol. And Ledward is convulsing, throwing up blood. The blood in the spikes shot out his back. He's fucked up. And what does Corinne do? She gives him a fucking hug. A fucking hug. I was so done with this movie. I honestly couldn't even process what I had just seen. I lost the next like 8 seconds. I blacked out. I was in so much disbelief. And at this point, you can't even blame that on like human emotion, which is understandably sometimes our first response. Regardless of your training, that's your friend. The human reflex is to care for him. But she had done enough of that. At this point, you need to realize there's a fucking problem, and you don't lean in for a hug. Number 12. Then Ferris comes back with the gun. Okay, but she leaves the door open. Okay, and then she shot and missed, slipped on the blood, just useless. and the damn thing almost got out the door. She didn't close. I mean, it got out anyway. She managed to get it closed, but whatever. So number 13. Way to blow up your lander ship, Ferris. I mean, I guess technically she saved them by blowing up the alien, but I don't think that was her intention. She was just being a reckless fool. Number 14. Another crew member gets sick because he wanted to poke foreign objects. And when he died, the one dude was all in his face, looking like he was about to give him CPR. Come on. Does anybody think I get it? That was your boy, okay? But at least get out of his face. This shit could be contagious. And for all you know, something else might jump out his mouth right into yours. So that's the 14 reasons I almost walked out. And now I just got some other observations. So David, he's the android king of daddy issues. He shows up. He's been living on this planet for 10 years, and he lies to the crew about everything, but about how Elizabeth Shaw died. And he tells them, they're perfectly safe. And Daniels, the new Ripley, she thinks he's a little suspect. Yet they all kind of let their guard down anyway, as if none of the shit they witnessed just happened, and they didn't just walk through a mass grave of dead burnt people. They're split up, they roam around. One of them goes off to a room by herself. David is being suspect. He cuts his hair. I get that David saved them, so they may assume he can be trusted, but there's a certain level of cautiousness I expect. And they've exhibited no such thing at any point, ever. These people, aside from having guns, they're not the least bit prepared. They don't appear to have any type of training or any common sense. And then Captain Oram tells Daniels, you were right. This wasn't a good idea. Oh, is that right? Well, I'm glad you have such superior observation skills, Captain Obvious. I hadn't noticed. So moving along, the stupid doesn't let up just yet. The weapon David released on the native people wipes out all the people and animals. So it kills potential hosts needed for the next part of the life cycle of his experiments. We know them as alien eggs. So even though Orem saw David interacting with whatever that thing was that decapitated a crew member, he happily follows him around while David explains that he's engineering monsters. He then follows David to a room full of alien eggs. Um, he immediately touches one. Then he looks into it. How is it that every person watching this knows that's a bad idea? Not because we've seen alien movies, but because it's fucking dumb, especially after everything he witnessed. Then, after getting his face hugged and his body implanted, Orm wakes up. After everything that's happened, what does he do? He asks David what he believes in. You know what? Just die, Orm. You haven't said or done anything that makes any sense since you opened your mouth. And let me back up for 1 second here, though, because what we've just learned is that David is the creator of the alien, the xenomorph, ultimately the queen, the perfect organism, as he calls it. Why? Because he has daddy issues. His creator didn't appreciate him, and he deserves to die, according to David. David wants to be the creator. So fast forward to Daniels finding out that Psycho David killed Elizabeth Shaw. She makes a run for it. Okay, Walter and David get in a fight, and they cut to Daniels escaping to the ship. So you don't see who wins the fight. Since David had cut his hair and now looks identical to Walter, cutting this scene made it pretty obvious that David is the one who made it back to the ship. Writers need to find new and more intelligent ways to trick your audience. I saw that coming a mile away. And even though, because David gets on the ship and he helps them. When a xenomorph ends up loose on the ship, he really does help them. But I still wasn't buying it. And later we find out that he had everything he needed to produce more. You know, so he's gonna pretend to be Walter now, and he's in control of the ship with all these colonists on it. So on to the next prequel, I guess. So dislikes. I'm gonna just this will be quick. Never-ending stupidity of the crew. Like I said, these writers they keep writing stories about scientists and astronauts and people who are supposedly highly trained, elites, selected to go on these missions, yet they're incredibly incompetent and stupid. Can you make a sci-fi movie with smart people who don't do dumb shit? Send a black dude with them. He'll be out there like, don't touch that, don't touch that, don't put your face in there. That's of course if you can get his ass off the ship. Next is like the writers have no new tricks. It just causes predictability. And then my next dislike is that I think that CGI was used um, in places where the old school method of puppets would have been a little more realistic. And my last dislike, actually, I don't believe the question was answered as to why the human like aliens in Prometheus were on their way to destroy humans on Earth. Why they mad? Or maybe we'll find out later, I don't know. But I mean, that was like the number one question coming out of Prometheus. What's their deal? And just one observation before I move on to likes. I was kind of surprised that Mother, the ship, didn't recognize that David wasn't Walter. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like she should have been able. I know they're the same. They're robots. I don't know. I just feel like she should have been able to recognize that. Likes. I do have one, believe it or not. The plot itself wasn't that bad. I don't think anyone was dying to know where the aliens came from before they started making prequels. But I'm content learning that David created the aliens, because of his daddy issues. Okay, whatever. He was designed to think for himself, just a little too much. He felt underappreciated and undervalued, and he wants to be a creator. He can't do that as a servant to a species higher up on the chain. Makes sense, whether you like it or not. I also thought it was funny that he showed up to their planet and killed them with their own weapons from their own ship. Hey, sometimes you have to destroy in order to create, right? David is savage and not to be fucked with. So I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I mean, the only other assumption is that they just, appeared out of nowhere like the rest of us. So fine, he gave them an origin. I'm giving this a 4 out of 10 though, because if the writers want more, they have to stop with the lazy writing. Don't regurgitate these old tricks. They aren't fooling anybody. A crew member looked in the alien egg, the overmorph, in 1979. Can't y'all please figure out how to get people face hugged without them being complete morons? So that's all I got for you guys. Do me a favor, like the video, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at MovieBuffChick1. Thanks.